Apple is one of the most valuable companies in history. It generates over $380 billion in annual revenue. Its products are recognized everywhere on Earth, and yet Apple does not manufacture the products it sells. Not a single iPhone is built in an Apple factory. Not a single MacBook rolls off an Apple assembly line. The company that defined premium consumer electronics outsources almost all of its physical production, and in doing so has built one of the most profitable business models ever devised. This is how Apple makes billions without manufacturing everything. Chapter 1. The decision that changed everything. Apple did not always operate this way. In its early years, the company owned manufacturing facilities. Steve Jobs believed controlling manufacturing was essential to controlling quality. But in the late 1990s, after Jobs returned to Apple, he made a decision that would fundamentally transform how the company operated. He chose to outsource manufacturing entirely. The logic was about focus. Jobs believed Apple's competitive advantage lay in design, software, and the integration of hardware and software into experiences that felt magical. Manufacturing was something other companies could do at enormous scale. If Apple competed in manufacturing, it would always be at a disadvantage against companies that manufactured for dozens of clients simultaneously. So Apple became a company that designed products but did not build them. Chapter 2. The manufacturing network. The name most associated with Apple's manufacturing is Foxconn, a Taiwanese company operating enormous factories in China employing hundreds of thousands of workers. Its facility in Zhengzhou, known as iPhone City, employs over 200,000 workers at peak capacity and can produce hundreds of thousands of iPhones per day. But Foxconn is not the only manufacturer in Apple's supply chain. TSMC in Taiwan manufactures Apple's custom silicon chips. Samsung supplies display panels. Corning manufactures the glass. Sony produces camera sensors. Apple sits at the center of a vast global network of specialized manufacturers across dozens of countries, each contributing components that Apple orchestrates into finished products. The iPhone you hold contains components from Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Germany, and the United States assembled primarily in China. Chapter 3. How Apple maintains control without owning factories. The obvious question is how Apple maintains quality without owning the factories that produce its products. Apple engineers work directly inside supplier facilities. They design custom manufacturing processes and quality control systems that suppliers must implement to Apple's exact specifications. When Apple designs a new product, it simultaneously designs the manufacturing process, ensuring factories follow procedures Apple has developed. Apple's purchasing power gives it enormous leverage. Being an Apple supplier is extraordinarily lucrative, but demands are non-negotiable. Quality standards are binding. Delivery schedules are strict. Cost targets are aggressive. Suppliers that meet Apple's requirements get enormous business. Those that do not are replaced. Apple also invests significantly in tooling and equipment inside suppliers' factories, effectively paying to set up manufacturing capabilities that produce exclusively for Apple. This gives Apple control over unique processes while keeping fixed assets off its own balance sheet. Chapter 4. The services business. Understanding how Apple makes billions requires understanding that hardware is only part of the story, and increasingly not the most profitable part. Apple's services business generated over $85 billion in revenue in fiscal year 2023, with gross margins estimated at around 70%, dramatically higher than hardware margins. Services include the App Store, Apple Music, Apple TV+, iCloud, Apple Pay, and a growing portfolio of subscriptions. The App Store alone generates extraordinary revenue. Apple takes a 30% commission on most transactions, one of the most profitable arrangements in the history of commerce, and one that has generated significant regulatory scrutiny worldwide. The genius of services is that it monetizes Apple's installed base continuously. Apple sells you an iPhone once, but every month you pay for iCloud. Every month you pay for Apple Music. Every App Store transaction generates a commission. The hardware creates the relationship. The services monetize it indefinitely. With over 2 billion active Apple devices globally, the services revenue attached to that base grows automatically as the installed base expands. The flywheel turns continuously. Chapter 5. Premium pricing. Central to Apple's profitability is its premium pricing strategy. Apple does not compete on price. It competes on perceived value and wins that competition consistently enough to charge prices competitors cannot match. The iPhone Pro Max starts at over $1,000. Comparable Android devices cost significantly less for similar specifications. Yet Apple consistently captures the majority of smartphone industry profits, despite having a minority of global unit market share. The explanation is brand. Over decades, Apple has built a brand representing premium quality, simplicity, and status that allows it to charge prices well above the cost of components and assembly. The gross margin on an iPhone is estimated at 40 to 50%. Premium positioning also filters Apple's customer base toward higher income consumers who buy more apps, subscribe to more services, and generate more lifetime value per device. Premium pricing attracts the most valuable customers in the market. Chapter 6. The supply chain. As competitive advantage. Apple's supply chain is not just a cost-saving mechanism, it is a genuine competitive advantage competitors have found almost impossible to replicate. Apple spends aggressively to lock in supply of critical components before competitors can access them. When a new technology emerges, Apple frequently secures exclusive or preferential access to early production by paying suppliers upfront or committing to minimum purchase volumes. This means competitors launching products the same year as Apple often cannot access the same components. When Apple introduced OLED displays, it had secured supply agreements, making it difficult for Android manufacturers to match display quality immediately. When Apple introduced custom silicon chips, the performance advantages were unavailable to any competitor because nobody else was designing chips optimized specifically for their own software. Tim Cook, who became Chief Operating Officer before becoming CEO, is widely credited with transforming Apple's supply chain from a weakness into one of the company's most durable competitive advantages. Chapter 7. The model that changed business. Apple's business model: design everything, manufacture nothing, monetize the ecosystem continuously, has influenced how business leaders think about competitive strategy across industries. The core insight is that owning factories does not create value. What creates value is owning the customer relationship, the design capability that makes products desirable, and the ecosystem that keeps customers engaged and spending long after the initial purchase.